Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Book Break, which are organized by the Library Committee. I am Suvendrini, and I will be your moderator today. Book Break this month is a story of my time, which is written by Monzurul Huq, a journalist, an author, and a former president of the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. It is a great honor to have Monzurul talk about, it's a semi-fiction, but it's about his life and his memoirs. Before we start, before we give the floor to him, I would also like to introduce the ambassador of Bangladesh, Mr. Shahabuddin Ahmed, who has graced the occasion. He will speak a few words. But before that, let me introduce Monzurul, who is Bangladeshi, of course. He has studied at SOAS in London, and before that, at the Moscow State University. And of course, he's a scholar and speaks Russian, Bengali, English, Japanese. So it's a great honor that we have him here to talk about his book. He has written books in Bengali, but this is the first in English, or? No, this is the second in English. And of course, the book looks into one of the most important historical periods of Bangladesh, the birth of Bangladesh, and one of the world's most bloodiest wars, which left 3 million people dead over 9 months, and many women were raped, and the country was destroyed. And the story of how Bangladesh was born is now a rising middle-income country with a vibrant population of over 160 million. So we will listen to Monzurul talk about his books, and also, before that, I would give the floor to Mr. Shahabuddin, who will talk a little about Bangladesh. And of course, the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina will be coming to Japan next week. Yes, thank you very much.
Ms. Shubhendrani Takuchi, former president of the Foreign Correspondents of Club of Japan, FCCJ, Mr. Monzurul Huq, author of the book A Story of My Time and Past, president of FCCJ, Mr. Anayatullah Khan, publisher of the book and editor of Dhaka Courier, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, Kombawa. Thank you for inviting me to the April session of Book Break ceremony organized by Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan, featuring Mr. Monzurul Huq. His book, A Story of My Time, which is autobiographical in style and narrated in first person, but describes the history of a nation's journey towards liberation. Bangladesh is one of the few countries in the world which had undergone indescribable tyranny, suppression, and exploitation by the then Pakistani rulers. The freedom fighters are the greatest heroes of Bangladesh, who made supreme sacrifices for liberating the country. Today, we are honored to have Lieutenant Colonel retired Sajjad Johir Bir Pratik amongst us, who was a valiant freedom fighter. The writer, Mr. Huq himself, was also a freedom fighter, and naturally the book was written from the perspective of a freedom fighter. In his book, he took us a fascinating journey from the language movement in 1952 through the years of our struggle towards declaration of independence by our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, on the fateful night of 26th March 1971. I do congratulate Mr. Monzur for creating yet another milestone in his literary feat. He has already written number of books, mostly in Bangla. I take this opportunity to pay my deepest homage to the greatest Bengali of all time, our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. I also pay my sincere and heartfelt respect to the four national leaders of Bangladesh, the freedom fighters, and the people of Bangladesh for their supreme sacrifices to gain an independent Bangladesh. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman led the people of Bangladesh against the suppression, exploitation, tyranny, and torture by the Pakistani Janta. He was arrested many times by the Pakistanis in a bid to subdue him and the Bengalis. But he was a courageous and patriotic leader who loved the people of Bangladesh more than anything else. After a long and arduous struggle, his party Awami League won majority in the elections of 1970 held. But the Pakistani military junta did not allow him to form government. Rather, they launched genocide on people of Bangladesh. However, under the leadership of the father of the nation, the spirited Bengalis raised resistance, and after heroic 9 months long liberation war, Bangladesh became victorious on 16th December 1971 with the surrender of 95,000 Pakistani armed forces. Now, under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who is the daughter of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the economy of Bangladesh is progressing fast with a view to realizing Bangabandhu's dream of Sonar Bangla, that is the Golden Bengal. We believe that Bangladesh is on the way to stand all among the committee of nations with mutual respect and understanding. Dear guests, many of you may have read the book of Monzurul Huq. I encourage others to make time to read it, which will give you a new perspective. This is a wonderful piece of work. I am sure you will enjoy the reading. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimashita. Joy Bangla, joy Bangabandhu. Long live Bangladesh-Japan friendship.
Thank you. Monzurul, the floor is yours.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you, Drini, and thank you, Excellency, for your kind remark about the book, about me, and all, about the country. So, what I would like to talk here is why I have written the book and what the book is about. I put the genre as it's a semi-fictional memoir. It's a memoir. It's my life is over there. I am describing how I grew up from childhood up till until now, what happened in my life. Not until now, because the book focuses on from my very early memories to March 24th, 1971. This needs to be explained. Why March 24th? Because our war, that front-fighting war, frontal war, started in March 26th. So book is essentially about the preparation, how we, knowingly or unknowingly, we are traveling to that destiny, coming to a point when we didn't fear about our life, didn't fear about the strength of the enemy. We were ready to sacrifice, not thinking that it might risk our life. And also, why I have focused on that part? Because from the start of the war and onward, there are many texts. Many people have written, many books, mostly in Bengali, there are some in English, but hardly anyone touched that part from the person's memories. That how it's not that just out of the blue war started and we joined and jumped in, started fighting. No. it had a silent preparation within the family, within the circle of friends, within our acquaintances. We didn't realize that we are traveling to that destiny, but it was definitely taking us to that point. And in many ways that, for example, one aspect that I have mentioned in my book, that in my school days, early school days, I all of a became a supporter of Ayub Khan, the Iron Man military ruler of Pakistan. Why? Because at that time it's a formative age. You know, we change our position, we change our what we think about. Ayub Khan came to power in 1958. I was a 6-year, still not 6-year-old boy, not knowing anything, what is happening. Listen to people, what my parents are talking about, relatives are talking about, friends are still too young, so relatives and parents, that when Ayub Khan came, all of a sudden people became very, they started abiding by the rule, and they became perfect people, because Ayub Khan at one stage, I heard from talk of my relatives that he's left some items on the street and army was watching if someone steals or not. Nobody had stolen. That people had become so ideal, and even they don't take items left on the street. So I thought that this might be a very good person. So that is the early policies, and gradually when I encountered other aspects. So I and my generation, not only myself, there are other Bangladeshis of my generation also here. So our perception started changing when eyes opened up, and slowly we realized that what was going on inside the country. And this is the essence of the book. I talk about my family, I talk about my early school days, I talk about friends, how I am gaining friends, how I am losing friends. And childhood days, you know, always you become friend and you think that lifelong you'll be friends. But all of a sudden, my father was in government service, so he was posted from one place to another. So we moved to one town to another. Then first few days, I was very sorry, that almost crying, that losing my friends. But within a very short period, it went away. New friends started coming. And also within this new friend, how this reality of the society reflected. That I remember that this episode is also in the book, that in early 1960s, I was in early school days, those were, and we had, at that time already, you know, India and Pakistan was divided mostly on the basis of religion. That is, majority of Muslims became part of Pakistan, and majority of Hindus, although there are more Muslims than total population of Pakistan still in India, but they are scattered in different parts. So majority of Hindus became part of India. So those Hindus who became citizens of Pakistan, or who were living in Pakistan at that time, precisely East Pakistan, because we are part of East Pakistan, some people feel vulnerable because there are communal riots and attacks and looting of houses and others. And it was not everywhere, but there are incidents. So there a hidden feeling of fear. That is, they felt unsafe in a country where they are not accepted as equal. So there is a trend of migrating among these people. And this is a very, very tragic part of our history. And many people, they just silently moved away. I have a very close friend in school days. He was an idle student, good student, and very good soccer player. I envied him. I wanted to follow him. And we were very close. After school also, we played together, went here and there. All of a sudden, he disappeared. No news, not coming to the school. I thought he might be sick. So I wanted to know from others what happened. Is he sick or something? No, they said that they left for India. It was very shocking for me because I was a very close friend, but even I didn't know. One day, all of a sudden, the whole family disappeared. Then I realized that it's the vulnerability more because my father was in police service. So probably his parents instructed not to tell, otherwise, that is. So this tragedy, which were hidden until now, gradually opening up. And I also opened my eyes to see what's happening around. And these are the small facts, small details, which shaped myself, I'll not say myself, my generation. My publisher is here, we are the same generation, and Mr. Naki, he came from America, and Munira Naki, they are also our generation. Our generation felt like that, felt that it's changing with the change, and we were moving towards liberation war, not knowing overtly that where it is taking us. But it was definitely taking us towards that destiny. And more we came to know, more we realized that we came out of British control. But now we fell in a trap which is worse than the British colonial rule. This is the Pakistan. Pakistan simply exploited. And there are more we started to know the factual details. For example, in 1960s, proportion of population in Pakistan, East Pakistan was 56% rather, and West Pakistan, which controlled Pakistan, 44%. But they have dominated everywhere, civil and bureaucracy, business and others, depriving the Bengalis, because they were probably afraid that if Bengalis given opportunity, they are the majority, and they will probably start playing more important role. So, and that is the exploitation we started to feel. And gradually we came to this realization. And this feeling is not that we had attended political meetings, someone was teaching us politics, not like that. It's the reality of life that has shown us, that had taken us to that point when we finally realized that the only way that left for us is to fight for our independence. No way. There was language amendment in 1952. Then in 1954, there was elected government in East Pakistan, which was also tacitly central government played role to overthrow that government. And in every step, there were obstacles coming up. And of course, there were also popular movement rising within the country. There were political parties which were oppressed, but despite the oppression, they were playing role. They were trying to educate the people, or rather alert the people about the reality. And we, who were not part of politics, with not any political party or others, these are the process that we gradually came to realize. And also this prompted us to join some political meeting, agitation, when leadership were speaking like that. We went more there for fun. But this process of fun also taught us that reality of life. And then, and this is the final episode of East Pakistan came in, rather it process started before that. Process started in December election, that in Pakistan. Before that, during the Ayub Khan period, later part of Ayub Khan period, there were popular movement, both in East and West Pakistan, movement for democratic transition of the country, because Ayub Khan ruled for 10 years. It's a military dictatorship, and sort of an indirect election which he manipulated. So demand was for democratic election, and democratic election. Ayub Khan was a very clever man to deprive East Pakistanis. He declared at early stage that Pakistan is equal. It's like a bird with two wings, and two wings are equal. So in any election, we'll have 50-50. this is disrespecting the fact that East Pakistan is 55% population. So this is a very cunning way, and showing us that I'm respecting democracy, I'm giving you equal rights. So Bangladeshi at once realized that this is the first. And demand was that adult franchise and one person, one vote. That means parliamentary seats were to be distributed according to population. And, and Ayub Khan gave power to the military leader, Yahya Khan. He thought that he will be able to win over purchasing the political leadership, but it was already too late. So when election result was announced, in East Pakistan there were 165 seats. 69 seats in National Assembly. Only 2 went to opposition, and 167 went to Awami League, which is a nationalist party which was supporting the liberation, so not liberation movement, that a democratic movement which is supporting and also restoration of a democratic government. 160, there are 300 seats altogether. That means this party has a single majority. But Pakistan wouldn't hand over power. There are many pretexts, and politicians who were supported, patronized by the military, they started calling that before power is handed over, there should be a negotiated settlement, because we are in West Pakistan, we are majority. This is just a ploy. So there are negotiations going on. Eventually, it went to nowhere. Sorry. And in March 25th, night of March 25th, 26th, there was a military crackdown. That is, military started killing civilian population. Killing started before that in small towns, localities, and there's some revolt among Bangladeshi military personnel over there. But main killing started on that night. So I have mentioned that my book doesn't touch this March 26th. It finishes on March 24th. And I have mentioned probably why it March 24th, because we were, from March 1st, there was a declaration that the parliamentary session was delayed, which is a ploy from Pakistan government. So that's the point we realized that only option left for us is to fight for our liberation. And we started taking training with dummy rifle, not real rifle. In Dhaka, there's a university ground where we are with this dummy rifle. We are marching and training. But we are always telling our student leaders that if fight starts, we have to fight with real rifle, not dummy rifle. So we need real training. They were saying it will happen, it will happen. So, but it doesn't come. And on March 24th, daytime, some of our leaders, they told few of us, maybe 8 or 10 of us were there, that you should gather at a certain place of Dhaka and we'll take you somewhere. Didn't mention where. So we gathered at that given time, and there was a microbus. We took the microbus, and it headed towards the southern part of Dhaka, outskirts of Dhaka, where in the old days all brick fields were there. I remember on the right side of this path we are going was river Buriganga, which is main river of Dhaka, and left side one after another brick fields. So our car took a turn on the left and went deep inside an abandoned brick field. There we saw a table, a ramshackle table, and there are 2 arms. One is 303 rifle, and another is a grenade. And a person was sitting in front, at the front seat of the microbus. He was introduced to us as our elder brother. No name, nothing. We didn't see him before also. So when we reached the destination, elder brother came out with all of us. And then we were never told who was he. But At that point, we realized that he must be a military personnel from Pakistan Army, but a Bengali who shifted his site, and he wanted to train us with this very simple arms. So he showed us how to fire the gun, and first he described, and then how to throw the grenade, and how to take cover, and what to do afterwards. So everything, and then he said that now you will have the opportunity to practice yourself live firing, but I'll not allow you to throw the grenade because it's too dangerous, because its sound will alert security forces and others, so you'll be in danger. So just each of you will have 3 bullets to shot. I remember very clearly that my first shot, I didn't know where it went. There was a makeshift target with bricks at a distance, maybe 30, 40-meter distance. And first shot, I don't know where it went. And second one hit the target, and there was a dust coming out. Dust was coming out, and there I ended. That with that dust, a new beginning started. That our, not the old life, new life, when we had to fight. And this really started from March 25th, after the atrocity started. Then many of us went to Liberation War, but that's a different story, not mentioned here. So that is the story. My idea is to give the readers an understanding that Liberation War of Bangladesh, it's not like it just someone gave a call one fine morning and we jumped. No, it has a process. It had a slow process. There were leadership, of course. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman had a crucial role in all those stages. But for us, we are young people, still not ready to get the political essence of everything. For us, this patriotism came through these small episodes, and people joined. And these ranks were solid, ranks of freedom fighters. So we started that fighting. So this is the gist of the book. And I described it through my personal experience, through my family's affairs, through my friends, our school days, college days, how these unseen factors were working behind the War of Liberation. And there may be some confusion among those who go through the books, and some question also might arise. One thing I find that you might find it a little bit puzzling, that why I've written it in English. After writing almost 10 books in Bengali, why this book is in English? I had one aim, because many books have been written on War of Independence, and hardly few books touches in English. There are younger generation are trying to look at, but those who haven't seen the first-hand experience of these, there are many distortions. Probably they heard from someone else, others. So I thought it is responsibility of our generation to carry the message to international audience. Why international audience? Because this Bangladesh suffering, agony, whatever you call it, it's not well recognized in the world. One example I give you, that our War of Independence continued for 9 months. And 9 months we had gone through immense suffering in the form of different form. For example, 3 million people were killed after being tortured, and atrocity was much more wider. 200,000 or more women were raped, and torture, raped, and others, properties looted, economy destroyed. And still, it's not internationally talked about much. We hear about genocide in Rwanda, genocide in Bosnia, even in Ukraine, where few thousand civilians died. But in Bangladesh, it's the 3 million civilian. And rape was random. Many of those women, they later gave birth to children. Those were later, we named them war children, war child. And this is one small point I would like to show you, the generosity and wide heart of our leader, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, that many of those women were ashamed of declaring that there is no father. They were given shelter, but they still felt ashamed. And he went to see them. He said that from today, write down in the column of father of the child, every child, my name. I am their father. Just look at the generosity. Look at the heart, which is so wide, so much that is. And these factors are not included because this is not that part of history I touched about. So first question is why the book is in English, and this is my answer is for international audience, so that you know better. Bangladesh is now coming up. There are a lot of discussion, but still, few people know that what happened during that period, during that time when we went through immense suffering. And also, another question might come up that the books may look more like a art album rather than a normal. This is the hardcover edition of book. My initial idea was to follow the convention. So my publisher is here. So he, after going through the manuscript, he said, no, it should be given special care because it's written beautifully, not my word, his word. And the message needs to be conveyed worldwide in a convincing way. So he asked a very talented young artist of Bangladesh now to not only to design the layout and design the cover, also to illustrate at the beginning of each and every chapter. So that is, and also to make it longer size, because artists say that illustration comes better when the book is a bit, size of the book is a bit bigger. So that's why it is over there. So there is, and I would like to introduce to you that one of our brave freedom fighters who fought in the battlefield after escaping from Pakistan, joining the liberation war. And he is honored freedom fighter. We call them honored freedom fighter. We have 4 honors to honor them, or rather to express our gratitude to them. So Colonel Sajjad Ali, Colonel Didar, Colonel Didar is here. Colonel Sajjad is here. So
I have to leave right now.
yeah,
I have to leave right now.
Yeah.
But if you allow me, I will only take 3 minutes.
okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, then Sajjad.
Mr. Khan is a publisher.
Yes, he's the publisher.
Very good evening to all of you. I'm here by accident. In fact, I came to attend the Asianet conference here, and then I extended one day to witness my best friend, my childhood friend, Monzurul Huq's book launching, which we were very happy and proud to be the publisher of. And I would not discuss my age, but I'll tell you that I know Monzurul Huq for only 57 years, to be precise. But anyways, but I think Monzurul Huq and our ambassador gave a very vivid description of Bangladesh's liberation struggle. But I'm not here to bore you with all those things, but I just want to tell you that how proud and how happy I am to be here this evening amongst all these friends of Bangladesh, if I may say. So the Japanese ambassador in Bangladesh gave, I wear multiple hats, but You can see my head is very beautiful. But one hat is the media hat. And I was the founder of the first digital wire service in South Asia, ahead of India. And the Japanese ambassador gave the first exclusive interview last night to UNB, saying what our Prime Minister's forthcoming visit on 25th is going to be all about. So Japan is a country which is very close to my heart. Not only that, our two flags are so similar, red in the dot and then white or green in between. I think we two countries are the best friends, and I think is one of, I don't know, I'm very emotionally very connected with Japan, whatever way. Don't ask me any questions, but I will tell that this is one of the most beautiful, most pleasant evening to see my friend, to have this launching event of his book, and very, very proud to have that. But I will only quote one paragraph of another friend of mine who wrote a review of Monzurul's book. So just allow me just 5 seconds. So he says, our generation is the generation that collided with history head on, without knowing where it was to take us to. But the resolve was firm, so the commitment too. Yet, not many of us were ready for confronting a situation that would call for an extreme sacrifice. How come then we could face such a situation and not run away? And I'm very proud to be a Bangladeshi, and I think we are one of the most resilient nations on this planet. We are regarded, we thought of like Bangladesh is the most environmentally, vulnerable country. But if you look at the last 15 years, Bangladesh has done marvelous in tackling the climate change. I mean, you look at the whole world, what climate change is doing, and how Bangladesh has tackled the climate change issues. Have you ever heard last 10 years that more than 50 people died in Bangladesh in any natural cause? No, because we designed our lifestyle to tackle all this climate change, to tackle the flooding. We changed our food habit, we changed our cropping pattern, we did everything. And I think that should be a global model for Bangladesh. And the reason that we decided to publish this book by Monzurul Huq is that it records the history of a nation, of my generation, to say that we are not afraid of anything. Be it war or anything, we are ready to face it. And I thank my ambassador here, and I thank Monzurul, and I thank everybody here to be in this room. And I want to say, arigatou gozaimasu, and I am very proud and I'm very happy to be publisher of my childhood friend's book. And I hope you will read this book. And it's a very unique book because I'm also an art lover. So I inspired one of master painter to give all the illustrations. I think I made 1,000 calls to that painter because he was very lazy. And then we wanted to meet the deadline. And finally we made it. And I'm so happy and proud. And thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. And I'm very happy to be here tonight. And thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Mansoor, do you have
And now I
yes.
ask Colonel Sajjad Ali Jahid to speak briefly his experience of war.
Excellency, the High Commissioner, Mr. Monzurul Huq, and Subendrini Kakuchi for a very well presented event tonight. The name is fascinating, the book, A Story of My Time. Congratulations, very appropriate. But don't stop here, sir. The next book should be The Story of My Life, How You Fought. It is only not how you wrote, but how you fought is very important. Next thing is that the book touches my heart because probably all of us were in the same dilemma in 71. The tragedy of Hamlet, to be or not to be, to do or not to do, to go for the war and not to go for the war. I was an officer of Pakistan's 14th Paratroop Brigade. leading a very comfortable and lavish life. Question came to me in my heart, should I fight for my country or enjoy my life in Pakistan? I decided to fight. Okay, that's all right. I crossed over from Kashmir, the most difficult terrain, through insurgent areas, captured, brutally tortured, almost dead, some way managed to come back to the battlefront. And that is same as what you have seen, the same battle we are in. One of the best sayings of literature is that before the Battle of Troy, Helen telling Hector, Hector, I'm not worried about death, I'm worried about tomorrow. What is tomorrow going to give us is very important. Please write about tomorrow also. It's very important. Let me tell you something which you people may not have known. The Pakistanis carried out a systematic genocide acknowledged by the whole world. But do you know, this was Pakistani's third genocide planned. Third. First genocide they conducted in Balochistan when the Baluchis started asking for equal rights. The world ignored them. Then they went and killed. You won't believe it. I did the research work, taking the risk of my life in Jordan. They ordered President Ziaul Huq, later on at that time General Ziaul Huq, commanding the training division of Pakistan's elite division, to kill the Palestinians. The Palestinian people near the Jordan River did embrace me and cry and say, you people fought, you have won. We could not win. Same Pakistanis have killed us in large numbers. Third genocide. But do you know, in world history, 2 genocides are documented. One is 1B Resolution 1943, written by the Jews. Written by the Hitler's Goering and other generals. How to terminate the Jews finally. And second was Operation Searchlight, what he was talking about. Second written genocide. I'm not abusive about Pakistanis. I even don't care. But what I do care is that Pakistanis, the new generation, should know about the genocide. Otherwise, they will keep on conducting genocide. It's a disease. It goes into generations. And let history say so, that Bangladesh, one of the poorest nations in the world, did fight against genocide and brought victory for the nation. For, as Ambassador Sir has rightly said, the proper political and brave leadership. We had one leader, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib, who in the correct time gave declaration to the people for independence and to fight. And the people listened to him. One man under the sun decided, and we won victory. But is victory enough? No. Victory was won, not by Bangladeshis, but people of many countries of the world. And that's the reason Honorable Sheikh Hasina now is on the process of honoring friends of Bangladesh. We are digging up the history. And we are honoring people from other countries. Bangladesh has honored previously 8 Japanese citizens. We are going to honor on the 27th 4 more. This is, why are we doing it? To show to the new generation of Bangladeshis that we are a grateful generation. It is so nice to be grateful. And to show the world that don't do genocide, the next generation will take on you. So the people of Japan have suffered like us. Do you know, even now, 43 Japanese graves are lying in Chittagong and in Dhaka in Bangladesh. We haven't cared to get them back to Japan. Now the process started. Today and yesterday we had very long meetings in the embassy and also in the ministry, we want to honorably get these bodies back to Japan. Because these children, who are all 21 to 24 years old, for 80 years, they are lying in the soil of Bangladesh. And let them come back. Let their soul be in peace in their own beloved motherland. Bangladesh is prepared to hand them over with dignity, honor. And fortunately, I'm a grave digger too. I exhume graves and I bury people. Yesterday in the foreign ministry, I volunteered to do the job for 43 brave Japanese of Second World War. These soldiers died for their land and ignored today. Soldiers are creatures of arrival and departure. But after they are departed, they are forgotten. Let's not forget them. Let's not forget history. And history says so, that we haven't forgotten you. To the people present here, it's an honor to have spoken to you, and I'm humbled by that. Let us all rise for the cause of humanity. Anywhere, any torture, any genocide happening, let's raise our voice. Let's help the victims, because every day genocide is being committed. In the end, I give my national slogan, Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Monzurul. Thank you, everybody, for bringing the war of independence, Bangladesh's war of independence, to be able to talk about it again after so many years. As you said, it's not talked about enough in the international arena. So this is an opportunity at the FCCJ to be able to talk about the bloody war, but also the fact that we are now facing wars in the world, and maybe we can open the floor for questions and relate what you experienced and try to understand what we are going through right now. I'm from Sri Lanka, by the way, and we also had a long ethnic war. Are we learning from it? I don't know. But anyway, questions open to the floor. Yes, Elgin, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elgin Yorulmaz. I'm the second vice president of FCCJ, and I welcome everyone here, and Your Excellency as well. And thank you, Monzurul, for this wonderful work. I actually am from Turkey, by the way. I have a question. Your publisher reminded me that question just out of nowhere, really. He mentioned climate change and how it affects disproportionately Bangladesh. Now, I know the worst, perhaps, polluters in the world are US and these developed nations, but Bangladesh, as one of the poorest nations, perhaps, in the world, is suffering the after effects the most. So that doesn't seem fair to me. With the upcoming G7 summit, what are your thoughts about these nations and this disproportionate, perhaps, influence, from historically or now? Thank you.
Okay. So G7, Bangladesh is not included even in outreach countries list also, no. From South Asia, India has been invited. So this question of raising this question in G7 is very limited for Bangladesh. But our Prime Minister is coming. Obviously, in bilateral discussion with Japan, this will be one of the issues. If not the main, it's the sideline issues. And as my publisher mentioned, that it's not the one way. Bangladesh has suffered a lot. And Bangladesh proportion of carbon dioxide emission is very negligible. But suffering proportion is huge. That sea level rising might cause immense damage. And already there had been cycle of this cyclone, cycle of this other drought and other effect in Bangladesh. But as, once again, I'd like to remind that, as my publisher mentioned, that now this disaster mitigation has been quite successful in Bangladesh. For example, in early 1990s, we had cyclone, which had taken more than 100,000 lives. But subsequently, we have cyclones, we have flood, we have drought, we have many heat waves and others. But death figure is very negligible. That means we have learned to live with disaster, but that's not the solution to the problem. Solution is to end the process of disaster. And Bangladesh is showing example on mitigation, but Bangladesh alone cannot do the solution, because as I mentioned, we have a small country and a small proportion of this emission or pollution. But if big polluters, they do not come forward, and I'm a bit disappointed with this G7 environment minister statement also, because they didn't commit to end use of coal. No, they talked about nuclear energy and others, but coal is the polluter. It's a very that's one of the prime polluters, but they're going to use it continuously use it. So we have to do something on that, and there is a responsibility. So this message, though Bangladesh is not part of G7, that's not coming, not even outreach countries, but Bangladesh is trying to carry this message that responsibility lies more on not those who are victims, but those who are cause of these problems. Thank you, if it is clear.
Yes.
Rakesh Bolven?
Yeah. And yes, Anthony. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much,
Okay. Good.
Monzurul and the other speakers, for a very powerful and important presentation. And I look forward to reading the book. I have two questions, and this is partly related to my experience of living in Cambodia, which also suffered a genocide. And there, what's happening now is that the younger generation, they actually don't really want to hear about it anymore, because they feel it's something that their, parents experienced, and they've heard almost too many stories. And I wondered, how do the younger generation in Bangladesh relate to this? Are they interested, or are they also in some ways now saying, let's move on, we want to not to forget, but that they don't want to focus too much? That's the first question. Sorry, there are two. And the second question is, I've been very impressed by the work of Ambassador Anwarul Chowdhury at the UN, promoting the culture of peace as the representative of Bangladesh, and also particularly the Security Council Resolution 1325 on the role of women in promoting peace and security. So I think Bangladesh has set this incredible record at the UN of promoting the culture of peace, and I wonder if you could comment on that in terms of coming out of this history of horrible conflict and suffering of war. Thank you.
Anyone would like to say about younger generation? That younger generation everywhere, and now these days, they look less to the past, more to present, rather present, that is, and becoming less and less interested about what happened in the past. But in Bangladesh, not everything is lost. For example, there are many programs which is targeted to younger generation, like Colonel Sajjad al-Jahir also, he had some programs participating, school children and others, educating about what happened. So there are both trends. There are, the problem in Bangladesh, medium of education is in Bengali and in English. Elites and rich people, they send their children to English medium schools, where the curriculum doesn't focus much on this history or this war of independence like that. So among this group, we find not that much interest. But on the other hand, in general education program, we have focused on this, particularly 1971, particularly genocide and others. So young people know. And there are also from non-governmental bodies, there are initiatives going on. We have a beautiful Liberation War Museum, which displays that what happened in 1971. And it's a beautiful presentation over there. If you have a chance to visit Bangladesh, please make sure to go to Liberation War Museum, which is a wonderful display of recent past. So these efforts are also bringing some results. And as I mentioned, there are many books in Bengali, books on our liberation war, books on what happened in 1971. There is no shortage on that. So shortage is in book in English. So that's why I personally ventured on that. So this is also, and people are buying books. This is one good thing, that in Bangladesh, particularly in month of February, which is February we call our month of language, because language movement in 1952 was in 21st February started. So in February, there is a big book fair, and publishers all try to bring out their books before the fair so that they can sell over there. And millions of copies are sold over there. That means people are purchasing books, people are reading, people are trying to know that. And in Cambodia, I think the problem is over-focusing. In Bangladesh, it didn't happen. It is fortunately or unfortunately, we call it unfortunate, that we had a military dictator which came to power. They wanted to erase memories of 1971. From 1975, military dictatorship continued till 1991. And after that also there are democratic government, but less interested about that. So a long period where this reality was suppressed. So when once again it opened up, young people also became interested. They didn't know that what the speech Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman made on 7th March, which inspired millions of people. And it's like a poem, that is the speech itself. So they didn't know about that. Once they came to know after this opening up, they became interested. So this is probably later on played positive role to younger generation to become interested because of they were in the darkness. In Cambodia, it didn't happen. Cambodia all focused on this trial of this Pol Pot regime and others. So people probably become a little bit fed up, particularly younger people. And Cambodia also problem that younger generation, economy is moving up, so younger generation enjoying life. And this is also in Bangladesh also happening. So this is a, I think, global trend. And Anwarul Karim Chaudhry, he was a freedom fighter, you know, that he was a diplomatic fighter, we call, that he defected, being a Pakistani diplomat, and was at the forefront in Calcutta. And, and he served quite long as our permanent representative at UN. So culture of peace. In Bangladesh, Sajjad Bhai, is there any program on culture of peace? Maybe you can say something, yeah?
This is a very important question, and thank you for raising it. We have another problem. First, there are English medium schools and Bengali medium schools, but there are Arabic and Islamic schools also. That's another problem. But we are trying to tackle that quite well now. In the English medium schools, the government has made repeated instructions that they have to be taught the children, and there is a memorial trust by the name of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, school, madrasa, and college programs. We are going down to every institute by groups and teaching them. So, in the academic curriculum in English, Arabic, or Muslim, and also Bengali, all over there are education that you have to do. Further, if you have to go to a job, whether interview or written exams, you will have to pass those subjects. So those conditions have improved a little bit. Regarding acknowledgement of genocide, let me tell you something, that main perpetrators were the Pakistani generals, not Pakistani people. We have nothing against Pakistani common people. They are also suffering under military rule. The Pakistani perpetrators, they were taken away from Bangladesh to Pakistan under an agreement. There were 93,000 POWs. Pakistan Prime Minister Mr. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto made an international commitment. He is going to try them. He made something called Hamdur Rahman Commission, and the guilt was expressed. Everything was well documented. It was judicial inquiry. But suddenly all this document was seized. These people released from jail. No trial has taken place. Okay, but with those 93,000 war people, Pakistani soldiers, unfortunately, there have been many Bengali collaborators, local collaborators who did conduct a lot of genocide. We are holding a international war crime tribunal in the level of international. That tribunal work is going on. A number of people had to face the sentence already. It's a very detailed trial. There are lawyers from both sides, and international observers have come. They have found those courts to be as per the international law, so we are trying to do that. So aim is what? Is not to do witch hunting, just to tell our people in Bangladesh that if you do something wrong, you'll face justice. And through our new generation, all other country people, that anywhere there will be genocide, try them like this. That's very important. Now, we can criticize many shortcomings, but in Bangladesh, under leadership of Sheikh Hasina, who is a very tragic, she has a very tragic life. You know, her entire family was butchered. Only she and her one sister and 2 children survived. Everybody was killed. And killing was very ruthless killing. I don't want to talk about that right now. So she understands tragedy. So she is trying to give justice to people. And even after that trial also, there are some human rights bodies have raised question, why should you try them? You commit killing and they cannot be tried. So those factors are there. But the new generation of Bangladesh, and I have one of our directors over here, and I was talking to, he's our new generation, he's as old as my son. And these people are very alert. They know. We will not let 71 fall away. We'll not let 3 million martyrs' blood go waste. And through our trials, dignified trials, through our examples, we want to convey a message to all over the world that do not do genocide. There should be no genocide done anywhere in the world. History says so, that we have made a good beginning, and we appeal to all of you, citizens of the world, to come forward, raise your voice, raise your hands, and no genocide, never again, never again. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and just to say that the ambassador must leave now, so I just want to thank him again for coming and joining our book break. Thank you very much. Just a minute, just a minute. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Just, yes, thank you very much.
I'll be in touch. Yeah. Thank you. The virtual meeting.
See you. See you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, Anthony, you had a question for Monzurul.
Anthony Rowley. Monzurul, just want to say thanks for a very interesting presentation. Moving story of a brave and resilient nation, but of course Bangladesh is part of the wider world, as indeed is every other country. So just wanted to ask you if you can widen your perspective a little bit to South Asia, sorry. The world is increasingly dividing into 2 blocks, ideological, strategic, even economic. Unfortunately, I don't need to name the 2 countries that are at the head of those 2 blocks, but sometimes, people wish that an alternative pole of influence would emerge, and Southeast Asia is one possibility. What about South Asia, including, of course, Bangladesh? I mean, do you see it as a counterweight in, achieving greater unity as a counterweight to the influence of these two dominant blocs, or not?
Well, India is trying to portray itself as settling between the two. That is, India has very close relationship with Russia, also very close to United States, Japan, and both sides are also trying to pull this. And South Asia is under immense pressure, that immense pressure to take side. But we feel that taking side might turn out to be counterproductive economically. And economy is very important because our economy depends on both sides. That is, our garment industry, which is one of the backbone of our industrial development, depends on European and American markets. And our other side, energy sector, heavily dependent on Russia. So is food sectors. So we cannot outrightly take side on this conflict. Rather, trying to look at this and finding a middle ground. I think it's India's policy also same. But Pakistan is radically shifting towards Russia probably more than is. And I think Sri Lankan's position is also more or less similar in South Asia, like Bangladesh. That is, we don't want our economy to suffer because already the country has many problems. And outrightly going one way will be have a very negative impact, and which cannot be addressed within a short period of time. So Bangladesh is watching, looking at rather nervously because under immense pressure at the UN and other international forums. So far, I think it's a nice balance Bangladesh is maintaining. Though sometimes US is very unhappy sending Victoria Nuland, who is very well known for directly pressurizing those countries, and sometimes under pressure from Russia as well. So we have a nuclear power plant which is being built by Russians. So it is being built by Russians. So recently there was an incident that equipment for the power plant, the ship carrying those equipment, America instructed Bangladesh not to allow to dock the ship in Bangladesh port. But this is an agreement which was signed much before the conflict started and things like that. And on the midway, stopping that project is not beneficial at all for Bangladesh. So Bangladesh managed with Indian help. India is playing rather a more bold position in maintaining the balance in both ways. So this is the South Asian position is not different than many other countries. But rather a balanced side is more, I think, than what you see in South Africa, Brazil, or some other countries.
Thank you. We could take one more, or if not, Caldon. Oh, yeah. Anybody from that table would like? No, Caldon. Do you have a question? Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, Monzur, for this valuable presentation. I have very good friendship with many Bangladeshi people. I'm always amazed by their very good English. It comes naturally and kind of academist. So just question about the current situation. There is, in Pakistan, a female prime minister, and before, always female prime ministers. So the freedom and liberty of women in Bangladesh, sorry, not Pakistan, Bangladesh are really very outstanding compared to many parts of the world, like Japan. Japan is not allowed for women to be prime minister, as far as we think. So, can you explain to us, like, what's the role of women in that liberation war and currently in the main politics?
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, currently we have, you see our Prime Minister is a female, woman. Our Speaker of Parliament is woman. In our cabinet, number of important posts are being held by women. Our leader of the Parliament is Prime Minister, but Deputy Leader is also another woman. So is Leader of Opposition. So wherever you go, in ministries, there are quite a good number of women. They are secretary, top level in ministries. So overtly, it looks all moving forward. And in the Gender Equality Index, which is every year published by the United Nations, Bangladesh occupies quite higher position. And we have quite a number of successful programs which encouraged women to be educated and join the mainstream of whether it's administration, politics, or whatever it is. And more women are coming up. It didn't happen out of the blue just today. So it didn't happen. It's a long-term plan. In mid-1990s, that scholarship for women, children were introduced in schools. Scholarship is not for the women, just the girls who are attending, their parents. Because it's the parents who don't send girls to schools because they think that the girls are the burden. And once they grow up, they're married to outsiders and they go out. So no benefit, real benefit for the families. But this is also changing because of these programs and others. And it's because probably our leadership, the number of very enlightened women are there, and they're focusing on that. And during Liberation War, it was a front fighting. There was no scope for women. Some women joined. It's not the mainstream trend. It's an exception. But many women joined in field hospitals, like nurses, caregivers, taking care of injured soldiers, freedom fighters, those are. So they're not left alone. They also participated. So this tradition of women, and Bangladesh is an Islamic country, but not in a very rigid way, that women are coming up. They always had been attending schools and things like that. And there had been, at one stage, reverse trend. This is the fundamentalist trend, trying to stop women from that. But so far, they couldn't succeed anything. So these are the positions that we can feel. I don't say I'm feeling proud of. We can feel relieved that we are, if you compare with other Islamic countries, it's quite different. Bangladesh women are coming up. And that's why in international, this surveys and others, we bypass Japan in a far way, because in the last index, I think Bangladesh was in 30s, and Japan is over 100 and something like that. So these are encouraging signs. Yeah, thank you, Khaldun.
And I also think your garment industry.
Yes,
many
yes,
women
yeah.
work and have their own money.
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
Which is also a big thing. So it's we'll have to close. It's right on time. It was a real honor, Monzurul, to have you speak at the book break today. You brought up such an important topic. And it's not only about Bangladesh, but also what's happening in the world now. And the whole healing process, the whole issue of documenting genocide, I think, is what we discussed today, which was really important to have you bring up this topic. And of course, your book is wonderful. It's so beautiful. And there are still some copies left, so please feel free to get one and get Monzurul to sign. Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It's also quite encouraging for me. So I'm now focusing on second part, that is the word part. So I promise that if I'm healthy and okay, quite soon it will come out.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.